and when these fights are made available, I want to jump at them, and regardless of whether there's a crowd there or not, I think to be involved in the biggest fights is what we're all training for.
Thank you so much, Katie. I see Eddie is sitting there. I have a question for him if he is still available. Hasn't dropped his line in the water.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you, Eddie. It's similar to what I just talked with Katie about. Do you see that the women have really stepped forward to make the big fights and seize the advantage during this pandemic where perhaps some of their male counterparts have not?
Yeah, honestly, it's so refreshing in women's boxing where genuinely the best want to fight the best. I mean, it was only, 6 weeks ago where, Amanda Serrano decided she didn't want to fight Katie Taylor. And it was one phone call to Katie Taylor about Delfine Persoon and one phone call to Delfine Persoon. And the fight was done. A little bit of money talk, but there seems to be, a real desire to create a legacy and fight the best. And listen, that's always been the case with Katie Taylor. Since the day that I met her, she's just been purely driven to be the greatest she can be, to be the undisputed champion and to make her mark on the sport. But everybody's following suit. People are trying to unify. People are trying to become undisputed. People are trying to move up weight divisions to get the biggest fights possible. And I think there's incredible momentum now with women's boxing. And you are right, through the pandemic, all kinds of opportunities are created in many different ways. And I think one for women's boxing where, you saw Michaela Meyer headline a card on ESPN the other day. You saw Terry Harper over here headline a card on Sky Sports and DAZN. So, Brackhouse and McCaskill last week, and now the biggest of them all, Taylor against Persoon. So it's a fantastic run for women's boxing, and we're backing it more than ever.
Thanks so much, Eddie. And we could argue that Harper Jonas was the fight of the year so far. Certainly the pandemic fight of the year. Thank you all. Good luck, Katie.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great, and we can throw it to Terrell next.
How you doing, Katie? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Terrell. Thank you.
All right. First and foremost, good luck this weekend. And I have a question from a chat. We're on a live stream right now. So this is from Unrivaled Boxing Talking News. He says, ask Katie if she's worked on any physical strength more in this camp as a tactic to deal with Delphine's physical aggression.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I've been over in Connecticut since January training for originally the Amanda Serrano fight. Obviously that fell through, so it has been a very, very long camp. But it was a great opportunity for me to actually build and to improve on a few things. And one of those things was actually I definitely feel like I've gotten a lot stronger over these last few months. That's one of the things I definitely have worked on and improved on. So hopefully that will come true on Saturday night.
Final question. What can you do in this rematch to make sure that not only are you an undisputed champion, but make sure that you can win this fight undisputed and make sure you leave no shadow of a doubt that you can beat her now and even if there is a third fight?
Yeah, I mean, I feel I definitely the last fight was obviously very, very exciting, but probably a bit too exciting for my liking. I want to clear any doubts on Saturday night, and I definitely have to be a bit smarter and probably be a bit more disciplined, as I said before. But I have prepared for this kind of fight. I've been training hard over these last few months, and I'm very, very excited about the fight.
All right, thank you. Good luck on Saturday.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Terrell. Okay, we'll throw it to Jake Donovan next.
There we go. Hey, Katie. I just want to have one question for you. One thing that kind of gets lost, with your legacy, you've done so many firsts. You're actually the first female to ensure that there's always full random drug testing for every single fight that you do. How important has it been for you to make sure that, no matter who fights you, they have to be prepared to stick a needle in their arm in order to step team in the ring?
Yeah, I think that's very, very important. I think just for boxing as a whole, it is so important to have that in place. Boxing is a tough enough sport, and if a boxer is taking performance-enhancing drugs, stepping into the ring, I always feel like that is disgraceful, really, because you have the potential to really hurt your opponent, regardless of whether you're on drugs or not. So, it is very, very important to have that in place for every single fight. Especially the tough fights when actually you're fighting against just champion against champion a lot of times. So it is very important to have that in place.
Okay, great. That was my only question. I'll let everyone else get in turn. Thank you so much, Katie. Always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, great. I'll throw it to Danny Flexen next.
Hi, Katie. How you doing?
Yeah. Hey, Danny. How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks. You talked earlier the Amanda Serrano fight was originally the scheduled clash and got replaced by Delfine Persoon. Which one would you say is the more high-profile clash, and which is the tougher challenge?
I probably would say that the Amanda Serrano fight was probably the bigger profile match, but Persoon is probably the harder fight of the two of them. But yeah, I mean, regardless, both girls are great fighters, and I was prepared for a tough fight for either one. But yeah, obviously, when the Serrano fight fell through, I was delighted to see that Persoon fight was available. And as I said before, I want to be involved in the biggest fights possible. This is why I'm in the sport for. And these are fights that I was born for. So I just can't wait for another big fight tonight. Just a fantastic performance.
And talking of being in the biggest fights possible, which is of course a laudable objective, we've just seen Cecilia Brækhus fall to Jessica McCaskill. We saw Terry Harper struggle with Natasha Jonas. That looks like a rematch almost certainly, with unfinished business there. Beyond Persoon, and I know you don't want to look too far past that fight, where do you see the big fights for you coming in the next 1 to 2 years with those guys kind of otherwise engaged?
I think there's huge fights out there for all of us. I think that's why in and around the lightweight division there's quality girl after quality girl. So there's a lot of great fights available for me. But as I said, I'm just focused purely on Saturday night. We can talk about the future after Saturday, but there's huge fights out there available for me.
Best of luck on Saturday night, Katie. Thank you.
I want to say.
And now I'll throw to Keith Idek from Boxing Scene.
Hi, Katie. I was just wondering what you specifically thought of the fight between McCaskill and Brækhus, and who did you think won?
I didn't watch the fight to be honest, but yeah, I mean, obviously Jessica was the underdog going into the fight. I did originally think that Cecilia might outbox her, but I'm not really hugely surprised that Jessica beat her. I think Jessica's obviously a great fighter. She has the potential to hurt any of her opponents. She has a big punch, and that's why she was able to step up in that weight division and cause problems. So, yeah, I mean, it was a great performance, I'm sure, from Jessica, and she's now the undisputed welterweight champion. So, congratulations to her.
I know you don't want to look ahead, Katie, but by Brækhus losing, it obviously took a great option off the table for you and what could have been the biggest fight in women's boxing history, maybe. I know you could fight McCaskill also, but can you speak to the Brækhus fight just not being available to you in the future, in the immediate future anyway?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't, regardless of if Brækhus is there or not, there's huge fights out there available for me, so I'm not really, I haven't really thought too much about it, to be honest. I don't really care who I fight. I just want to be, as I said, I just want to be involved in the biggest fights. I want to create a great legacy, and I want to fight great champions, and I want to just continue to bring home the belts and be involved in the biggest fights possible.
Katie, what do you think was a fair score of your first fight against Persoon?
I actually didn't score the fight, but obviously a lot of people had me winning, a lot of people had her winning, but nobody can deny that was a very, very close fight, and that's why the rematch is happening again. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to clearing any doubts, I guess, on Saturday night.
Beyond fighting a more disciplined fight, was there anything, any other things that you're going to do, without giving away your game plan, of course, that you'll do differently, or how you're approaching this fight differently than the first fight?
I guess, yeah, I don't really. I just want to go in and produce a performance I know I'm capable of. But I suppose I obviously won the first fight, but I was disappointed with my performance, and people are still yet to see the best of me. So I'm looking forward to producing a career best performance on Saturday night.
Thank you, Katie. I just have a question for Eddie, if he's still there.
Yep, I'm here.
Eddie, what are your thoughts? Obviously, Breakus losing takes that fight away for the time being anyway. What were your thoughts on her losing to McCaskill?
I thought it was a very tight fight. You know, I think it depends what you liked. I thought the crisper punching, you know, came from Breckhouse in that fight. But as always, the work rate came from Jessica McCaskill. She's absolutely relentless. And I think, you know, you could definitely argue she deserved the victory. So it was a big shock. I think to the wider audience, I think to people in boxing that know both fighters, you know, Cecilia was the favourite, but Jessica was certainly not out of the race there. And, you know, there may end up being a rematch for that fight in November, December. You know, there's so much on the line for Katie on Saturday. As a team, we haven't talked too much about what's next. The focus is on winning on Saturday and making sure she remains the undisputed champion, because you saw last Saturday, everybody talking about Breckhouse against Taylor. And all of a sudden, the wheels came off, you know. So it's very important to stay focused on the task at hand this weekend.
Eddie, I don't know if you've had a chance to speak to Cecilia or anyone from her team, but she sort of seemed like, she didn't say she was retiring, but she sort of seemed like she might be leaning that way. Do you expect her to fight again?
Yeah, I think it's very raw at the moment, isn't it? You know, I think people can say things after. It certainly sounded like it could be a potential retirement speech, but, you know, some of the conversations with Tom Loeffler make me think she may fancy the rematch for that fight. So it's early days, but, you know, I'm guess we'll catch up with her this week and obviously respect any decision and support her 100%, whatever she decides to do.
Yeah. Question. So speaking for myself, I'm just getting back into the loop with boxing. So I'm, you know, just catching up with the news and everything. So can you tell us exactly what, you know, of course, the best way you can, what happened with the Serrano fight and if it can be revisited in the future?
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly what happened. So, you know, it was always a stress to try and get this fight over the line. Katie Taylor had wanted this fight for a long, long time. And there was always things that we had to do and promise to get this fight delivered. First of all, it was to give Amanda Serrano a vacant world title shot, another one at Madison Square Garden. She won that fight via knockout in the first round. Then we had to give her the Heather Hardy fight after that at Madison Square Garden. She won that fight. And then we were due to make the fight again for May, and she said, oh, first of all, I need another warm-up fight. So we got that warm-up fight in Miami. That was an 8-round fight. We also paid her in advance on her money to fight Katie Taylor, and still she decided not to take that fight. There was a conversation between myself and Lou DiBella, you know, saying, do I think she'd take less money for this fight? He quickly told me absolutely not. We remained in line with the contract. We offered her her full purse. We gave her a new date. And she decided to try and go on a reality TV show instead, which we quickly had to, you know, act on as well. So it was hugely disappointing, not just because we didn't get the chance to see Serrano against Taylor, but because of all the things we had to do to get her the fight in the first place. I felt a little bit conned, if you like, you know, by giving her all these fights and these warm-up fights and these advances and stuff like that. So very disappointing, but I'm just so happy we have a fight that has much more attention in Taylor Persoon too, because we've seen what happened in the first fight. So they deserve a huge amount of credit, and we'll see what Amanda does in the future. You know, right now, I think the way I feel, I think probably Katie feels the same way, is that we feel that, you know, that we've wasted so much time on that fight over the years. We just want to focus on the fights that are possible and the fights that don't disrupt Katie Taylor's career.
All right. Thank you.
Gavin, you have a question for Katie.
Yeah, cheers. Apologies, Katie, you haven't gotten rid of me yet, but hopefully you'll be wrapped up soon. I know, like, ahead of the last fight with Persoon, there was an undisputed title fight, so certainly in Ireland, the temptation, I think, among boxing fans or even sports fans and probably media as well, was to compare it to 2012 in your Olympic final. Like, kind of the questions you were getting were like, you know, where does it equate to it, and is it as big and so on? Is it as significant? And apologies that I'm kind of doing it again in a way, but just within the context, I guess, of this being a rematch and the fact that the first fight was so close. Like, it seems as though for a few years, people were talking about there wasn't kind of enough jeopardy in your fights, that you were winning quite easily, and suddenly you're going into a fight where if you were to lose, which is something I'm sure you're not contemplating, so many people in the world of boxing are going to be like, yeah, she wasn't what she was made out to be. She probably lost the first fight as well. Persoon is just better. Like, do you feel the kind of added jeopardy to this one? There's kind of a legacy on the line here, without meaning to put you under too much pressure.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I go into every fight knowing that there's a lot to lose, I guess, and I want to secure my legacy, and I want to be the best of all time. And these are the kind of fights that are going to secure my spot as the best of all time. So these are the fights that I was born for. These are the fights that I absolutely want. And the first fight was very, very close. And obviously the second fight, I hope to clear any doubts and to win a lot more convincingly. And this is what I've trained for really since that fight, since the first fight happened. And I've been in Connecticut training for a huge fight since January. So I feel more than ready for this. And as I said, these are the kind of fights that I absolutely want, and these are the kind of fights that I love.
When you win a fight like this, particularly in June when it was so close, and probably even going back to that Ochagava fight in 2012 as well, how much of it is about actually kind of enjoying it, or how much of it is relief? Because like you've built it up so much in your own head, obviously in preparation for it. Is it kind of a sense of relief to have gotten over the line, or can you actually enjoy the moment?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of both, really. It's relief and joy when you win a huge fight like this. I can't say that. I mean, the fight week is always a very busy week with interviews and press conferences and stuff like that. But the thing that I look forward to most is the actual fight itself. And as I said, I've been training for months for a huge fight, and I just can't wait to step in there and produce, as I said, a career best performance.
And I mean it this time, it'll be the last one for me. But the fact that you had several rematches in your amateur career, I mean, you would have fought some opponents probably 7-8 times by the end of it, and high caliber opponents at that. Whereas with Persoon, she had a rematch or two early in her professional career, but doesn't have that amateur background. Do you think that actually might be an advantage for you in the sense that previously in your career, you would have had to adapt based on having fought someone previously? Like, you would have had the kind of insight of having fought them and tried to apply a couple of amendments to make it a little bit easier, where she hasn't quite had that opportunity to do so probably as much as you in her career.
Yeah, I think it's always good for each fighter. We've obviously already experienced each other's style in the ring, and like I said, you can adapt and you can adjust, and I am very, very used to that, as you said. But I guess it can be an advantage for both of us. We have seen each other already. We went 10 rounds together in a war in last year, so we have seen a lot of each other, and I'm sure we both made adjustments for this rematch. So, but yeah, that's what boxing is all about. And as I said before, you have two fighters who really believe that they're going to win this fight. That's why this is going to be such a fantastic fight.
Thanks, Katie. Best of luck.
Thanks, Gavin.
And this is just a last call. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand or message me directly if you don't have that option. I'll throw to Andy now for a question.
Hi, Katie. Obviously going into the fight with Delfine this time round, what do you expect from her? What do you think she will bring? Do you expect it to be a similar style to the first fight, or do you think she will look to adapt and change to how you guys previously fought?
I'd say you're probably going to see probably a similar style to what we've seen before. She's very rugged and very aggressive and relentless, and that's what I expect on Saturday night. It's going to be a very, very high-paced fight, I think, but as I said, I'm ready and prepared for that kind of fight.
So you've been in camp for a while now. You was originally preparing for Amanda before all of that happened, and now Delfine stepped in. Delfine, I don't really know what her backstory is, whether she was training or not, preparing for a fight. But do you feel that you do have that extra advantage with, a bit more preparation time to get ready for this fight? And do you think that will pay dividends come this Saturday?
Well, I don't think. I think she, as a professional boxer, you should be in the gym all the time anyway. Where we are, this is what we do, and and she had plenty of time herself. I think she had 7 weeks in preparation for this fight. So, well, when she got the call, so we're both going into the fight 100% prepared on Saturday night. So, yeah, may the best boxer win.
Thanks, Katie.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, I'm not seeing anyone in the queue here, but if for some reason technology is prohibiting you, please jump in now if you have any final questions. All right, then we'll let you go, Katie. Thank you very much. We appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Good luck on Saturday night.
Thanks so much.